like to welcome you all in this conference, and many thanks to those who organized it, and my colleagues Maria Christopoulou, Eleni Athanasiou, Konstantinos Drossos, Anita Koni, and of course the coordinator of this session, the Met, from Turkey. So my topic, as you see, is pandemic and mental resilience. So I thank for the opportunity the CIF conference has given me to contribute in this big issue, which has to do with all of us. There is a phrase in cognitive psychology principle which says, beauty is found in the eyes of the one who sees it. In a similar way, joy and sadness and beauty and ugliness are experienced very subjectively and not necessarily based on the real dimension of a situation. So the way we view life depends on the way our brain works, events, and consequently how that interpretation will affect our emotions and behavior. Thus, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors seem to be in a cyclical relationship in a way that the one influences the other. So again, it has to do with the way we choose to see life. If we choose to see the beauty of life, or if you choose to see the ugliness of life, because they are both. So the difference in the way each person faces the important events of life, and especially the unpleasant ones, has to do not only with basic personality traits such as optimism, pessimism, mental resilience, patience, perseverance, etc., but mainly in the way we have learned to think and where to focus our thinking on each time. So it depends where we focus on. This becomes especially important in situations of crisis, such as the one that troubles humanity the last few years, but also many others, such as wars, diseases, losses, death. Every human being will be inevitably go through a series of such crises in his or her life, smaller or larger, and will experience pain, either physically or mentally. The key to dealing with this situation lies in the way we have learned to interpret, experience, and deal with these crises. So all of us will experience some kind of crisis. The important thing is how to deal with those. I think, okay. Do we allow thoughts of fear, terror, panic, or misery and depression to overwhelm us? Constantly recycling negative thoughts and allowing them to take over our being, fixing us mentally and physically? Or do we recoil after the first blow, rebuild our strength, see the situation globally and in its real dimensions, and reprogram ourselves with new alternative thoughts, actions, and behaviors? So again, it depends on the way we program our mind. Especially the last one, the issue of reprogramming, and even more the review of our life, becomes a conscious decision when something strong, either pleasant or more often unpleasant, comes to shake our lives. A disease, let's say, an illness, a death, makes us become more conscious of our choices in life. Sorry. Pain, in whatever form, seems to have an awakening role. It is what makes us slow down from the daily running, the multitasking, and our scattering, in order to come to ourselves, to be closed in our shell, either literally or psychologically, and to wonder where we go, what we do, what we really seek in life, and what is the ultimate purpose of our life. So this pain, which of course is something that we don't like, sometimes helps us to come into ourselves and realize what we are doing. There is an existential reflection. It is during these essential moments of existential reflection that we are expected to give crucial answers and make important decisions, since the speed of everyday life and the intoxication of bliss do not allow us time, clarity, and purity of mind to listen to our inner voice, provided, of course, that we are willing to listen to it and act accordingly. So it depends if we accept this inner voice or not. So the pain per se does not, we cannot say that is good or bad. It depends how we use that pain. If it will give some benefits or not. But pain usually, not always, makes us more mature. The positive thing about pain is that if we make a good use of it, it can lead us to a deeper level of existence, make us more mature, more down to earth, reduce our selfishness, make us more human, open our eyes to truths that we have not seen before, and help us to prioritize our needs more wisely, setting priorities and more substantial goals in our lives. If we don't have something serious to deal with, we deal with very small issues, worthless issues. But if we have something very important, then we don't care about those small issues. It is up to us whether we will seize the opportunity so that to get sweet through the bitter, as a phrase says, or whether we will remain in our misery and negativity. Somebody says, choose happiness. It sounds very simple, but it has some truth in it. This phrase has some truth in it. We choose happiness to some extent, at least. And as the lyrics of a well-known Greek song say, we took our life wrong and we have decided to change and transform our lives. It's never too late to change your mind, to change your way of life. Let us see, however, what usually happens during a crisis like the one we experience. Some possible psychological consequences from a crisis are loneliness, insecurity and uncertainty, anxiety, sadness or depression, pessimism and the lack of motivation, anger, excessive thinking too much, social isolation, for example, concerns whether ourselves or our loved ones will be infected by the virus, reduced social contacts, or complete lack of opportunities for the development of new social relationships, total absence of interpersonal relationships, limited social activities, limited autonomy, reduced sense of belonging. Some other possible disorders might be sleeping and eating disorders. For example, difficulty in sleeping, fatigue from lack of sleep, delay of the sleep and rest time. And in nutrition, we might have disorders of appetites by losing or adding meals, weight loss or weight gain, emotional eating, which means that either we eat because we do not have something else to do, or we eat to meet some emotional needs that underlie this eating. How can we meet all these challenges? Although the above challenges may seem difficult to manage, it is important to keep in mind that unfortunately they are common. It is a fact that we are called upon to employ normal reactions to deal with an abnormal condition, such as the pandemic. So it's okay not to be okay, in simple words. It's normal to feel all these negative feelings. First of all, we have to recognize and accept those difficult emotions and say, okay, they are normal. It is normal to experience anger, sadness, affliction, stress, especially during this difficult period. It is important to communicate and share with people we feel close to, such as friends, relatives. We will find that they may feel similarly to us. We remind ourselves that this is a temporary situation that will pass at some point, and we try to remember of adversities that we have faced successfully in the past. There were many crises before we managed, so why not to manage this time as well? In the event that these emotions create particular problems in our functionality, it's important to seek for sources of professional support, such as a psychologist or a spiritual father. We try to keep in touch with significant others. It makes sense to feel alone and isolated from others within these conditions. Let's try to stay socially connected with our friends and family through alternative ways of communication, such as Skype, telephone, and so on. We communicate with people we value and love, even if they are far away, and we try to connect with people who help us feel emotionally and mentally healthy. We can see the current situation as an opportunity to recognize how important it is to have some people in our lives and to feel grateful for this. So again, we focus on something positive, the friends we have, the relatives we have, all these people who can support us. We try to maintain our everyday habits and routine. We start our day at about the same time. We set specific and achievable goals during the day and try to reach them. We choose a physical activity perhaps, and we practice it every day. It especially helps our mental health to do a sport, take a walk, run, or ride a bike. This physical exercise has been shown from studies to be as effective as antidepressant pills are. So it's very important to have it in our everyday life. We adopt good practices of sleeping and eating. For example, we eat properly and healthy 3 meals per day. We follow a sleep schedule. The goal is to get about 7 to 9 hours of sleep during the night. And we avoid watching too much TV or working in front of a screen, especially at night. We choose creative activities. We offer personal time to ourselves to do something that we enjoy. We avoid listening and reading the news about the pandemic all the time, continuously, all the day. We also pay attention to the sources from which we derive the information and select the most reliable ones. We try to find time to do some activities that please us and refresh us. And we come now to mental resilience. What exactly do we mean by this term? Mental resilience is the ability not only to recover and endure a difficulty, loss, or crisis, but to come out of it even stronger. It is the ability of the individual to regenerate, to return, to successfully adapt to the environment despite adversity, and to develop social, academic, and professional competence despite being exposed to intense stress. So the difficulties are there. The important thing is to rise up every time we fell down. You all know, I think, Nick Vujicic, the man who was born without arms and legs, but he's now very successful, very happy with his family, and he has found a meaning in life, and now he's trying to help other people to find their meaning in life as well. If we have time at the end, we can see a short video from him. When can a child be considered mentally resilient? There are two necessary conditions that need to be met if a child is to be considered mentally resilient. First, the child should live under an adverse, stressful condition with endangered mental health and or psychological well-being of most individuals. So the first condition is to live in a very difficult condition. And the second is that the child is well adjusted and psychologically adequate despite living under these conditions. So if you live in a very difficult situation and at the same time you are able to function normally, then we are speaking about mental resilience. I don't know if you're familiar with this internal and external focus of control. Some of us have internal locus of control and some of us have external locus of control. That means that we attribute our success and failures either to internal factors or, if we have external focus, to external factors. So let's say that the student has received a bad grade. If the student has internal locus of control, might say, I must not have studied enough, I can do better next time. Or if she or he gets a good grade, might say, I'm so glad I studied hard. If the student has external locus of control, in the case of bad grade, might say the test was flawed, there was no way to do well, and if he or she gets a good grade, the instructor must have graded wrongly. So studies show that the people who have an internal locus of control, that means that they believe that their failure or success in life is mainly due to them and their efforts, then they have more chances to succeed in life because they try more. If they believe that outside external factors are responsible for their failures or success, they might not try so much, and they might don't have so much success in life. Some risk factors about this mental resilience include mental or physical illness, financial difficulties, experiencing rejection, neglect, hostility, bullying, school with high delinquency, disadvantaged position of the family within the community, death of a family member, deprived or distributed family environment, parents divorced, and many others. Let's see which are the protective factors. I have grouped them in 4 categories. The first category refers to personal factors. So some of our personality characteristics are helpful for mental resilience. To offer oneself in the service of others or to achieve a goal, to have some social skills such as decision-making ability, assertiveness, problem-solving ability, ability to create healthy and warm relationships with others, ability of autonomy, independence, flexibility, ability and willingness to learn new things, ability to set motivations and goals for oneself and insist on achieving them regardless of obstacles, be good in a specific field or area, have an optimistic attitude in life, to act hoping to succeed and not fearing of fail, and a sense of self-worth and self-confidence. These are the personal factors. There are also social factors. For example, people in your environment who promote the creation of close ties with care and attention, social support networks. People who appreciate and encourage the learning process, people who adopt low levels of criticism, who set clear boundaries, who promote sharing of responsibilities, who provide opportunities to meet personal needs to all the members of the community, of the family, to express high and realistic expectations for success, to support children's ability to set aims and goals, who contribute to the development of values such as altruism, social skills, cooperation, who provide opportunities for taking responsibility, decision-making, and have essential participation in events, who appreciate the unique talents and abilities of each person, because each person is unique, and are themselves positive models of mental resilience. They don't get so easily disappointed, but they struggle to and continue to fight against the obstacles. The third group of protective factors are the school factors. So within the school setting, the opportunity of acquiring knowledge, but mainly to create close interpersonal relationships with adults, teachers, let's say, and peers, is an important protective factor for the promotion of mental resilience. So if you have supportive teachers, let's say, it's very helpful. And the last group of protective factors is, of course, family. A supporting family context governed by healthy relationships, a stable and structured value system, a family environment that promotes self-esteem and self-confidence of its members, understanding, respect, and care that an adult can offer to a young child, families who cultivate positive goals for their children and their future, offer activities and norms in a safe and positive way, and parents who encourage their children learning process and help them develop critical and creative thinking. I want to give some more emphasis on the parents' role because it is very important. It even seems that the primary relationship between mother and infant plays a very important and major role in this quality of supportive relationship. Especially important is the development of an emotionally strong relationship between the child and at least one adult who is adequate and emotionally available for the child. Conger argues that if the developing person does not experience indisputable evidence of parental love and protection within the family environment, she or he will have a great difficulty in forming positive self-esteem and forming stable relationships with his or her fellow human beings. So it's important to have at least one adult, if you're a child, who supports you. Also, the quality of parent-child relationship, but the parental care in general, seems to develop to the child the feeling that the parent can protect him or her from dangers and at the same time can and will impose certain limits if needed without disturbing the good relationship with the child. So even if I'm angry with you, I still love you. Even if I set some consequences for you, I still love you. So the relationship is there. Parental support and upbringing play an important role in the development of mental resilience. The positive relationship of children or adolescents with their parents promote their psychological adjustment, which is positively related to self-esteem. So the development of mental resilience is directly related to the presence of stable, skillful, and affectionate adults who undertake the upbringing of the child. If parents reinforce their children's need for autonomy, while at the same time helping them to exercise self-control of their impulses, the children are expected to gain self-confidence and feel personal pride and security with themselves. A few words now about how to enhance this mental resilience. With the development of positive emotional relationships and provision of emotional care and support, with the encouragement of positive acceptance and unconditional love, especially in situations of adversity, with clear boundaries, with the possibility for initiatives and pursuit of high but achievable goals, learning of life skills like communication, cooperation, assertive skills, and opportunities for effective participation in issues that concern us, to take initiative, to be active members of a group. And we should not forget that one of the more simple ways to improve a child's mental resilience is playing. Playing covers a series and a range of emotional and social and cognitive needs of the child. So we should not forget playing. Concluding, the ability for resilience is something that can be developed. The individual often learns through difficulties how to use more specific functional behaviors, thoughts, and actions. Certainly, there are external factors that we cannot always control. Though we prefer to have internal locus of control, we acknowledge that sometimes there are some factors we cannot control, but we can control many others. There is, however, much we can do to help both ourselves and others. Children can show mental resilience in some circumstances and not in others. So the strength of the protective factors that are the shield against difficulties and obstacles can change at different times of life. We are not always the same. Sometimes we are weaker, sometimes we are stronger. Research results show that there are no magic recipes or features that enable children to adapt and cope with difficulties. But we know that family, school, community, and the personal traits of the children can help them to develop smoothly and become mentally healthy and happy adults. As Electra Venaki said, those who do not become more emotionally intelligent will not easily survive in the times to come. So we need to develop this as well, emotional intelligence. And the final word of the spiritual coping. For those who believe in God, there are also some spiritual ways of coping with crisis. For example, giving a spiritual meaning to pain and crisis, prayer, participation in church, secret ceremonies and church community and affiliation can serve as a support factor for the person or the family, and the development of faith and trust to a loving God, not a God that wants us to suffer. So I finish with this. History has shown that the greatest winners encounter shocking obstacles before triumphing. They won because they refused to be discouraged by their defeats. So constantly trying without giving up. Thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you.
Yes, thank